that social media post.
That one is for the personal use only.
All right, but back, big moment in your career.
Well, I mean, finally I got that main card. Well, I guess it was by a default. It wasn't like something had to happen, but like I was like, are they really doing this? I think it was an inside joke for the UFC after a while. I was like, come on, why are you guys doing this? I've put up 3 amazing performances, still on the undercard, but here I am. The universe works the way it should. The plan has already been written, and here I am on the main card of this massive final pay-per-view event. How amazing to be at T-Mobile. I can't wait to go out there and perform on the main card.
You were just wishing ill will on somebody on the main card so you could get your spot?
No. Good fortune on myself, no ill will on somebody else's spot. How it works out, that's not up to me.
But obviously joking, but seriously, were you kind of a little bit like, why are they not putting me on main cards? Like you said, you were turning in great performances.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm a very optimistic guy, so I just told myself they need to sell these prelims as well, so that's why they keep me on there.
Nice. What do you think about the matchup when they announced Darren Till? Obviously a big name in the sport. He's had some inconsistencies lately, but what did you think when this was the opponent given to you?
Yeah, as soon as they, there was a little bit of talks. I mean, it was weird how this fight played out. I got a call before the September event. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but so I got a call saying, listen, will you fight Darren Till in 3 weeks? So this is, like I said, I don't think a lot of people really knew about this, but September when comes out the Diaz fight card, 209, right? No, it was, what is the fight? Well, no, it wasn't 209.
279.
279, 209. Diaz.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah. But, so they phoned me on 3 weeks' notice before the fight, and they said, listen, but I'm talking about late night. So Cameron, they were here at the Contender Series. So Vegas time, 11 p.m. My coach and, assistant knows that I'm asleep by that time on the phone. I answered, and they said, will you take a fight against Darren Till in 3 weeks' time? What's your weight? And I'm like, my weight's irrelevant at this stage. I'll take the fight. And, I struggled. I had a little bit of niggles, and wasn't really in a fight camp at all. And I said, cool, let's do it. And they said, cool, we'll hear back from the UFC tomorrow. I have no idea where this information came from. I have no idea what's up. And they went by, nothing happened. Day 2, they said they haven't gotten back to us. They haven't gotten back to us. And that's when I went on saying, hey, listen, Darren, you want to do this in September? Let's do it. Because I couldn't wait anymore. I was like, listen, I want to know if I'm fighting. Because now I'm really dieting very hard, and I'm training hard, which I always do. But I want to know, is this happening or not? And he said it was too short notice. And that was weird for me because I'm like, the short notice, I thought I was the short notice replacement, but he accepted the fight, and that's how this whole thing came about. And as soon as we signed the fight, so many people went, oh, he's going to pull out of the fight, which I understand. I mean, the track record doesn't look great, but I just had this feeling in me since day one, this fight will happen, and this will be the biggest name that I beat this far in my career.
I was going to ask you about that. So as you were preparing, did you ever have worries like, hey, we better be ready, to change or to pivot because we might end up with somebody else?
Not at all. I mean, obviously, as soon as the fight came about, that was something that was mentioned. I was like, well, guys, that's something out of my control. I can't be worrying about that. So many people on social media, fans, just everybody saying, oh, Darren Till's definitely going to pull out. Like, don't even worry about it. He's going to pull out. I'm like, what do you want me to do? You want me to not train? I'm like, okay, cool. I'll make sure I don't train just because if he pulls out, I don't waste my time. No, that's not the way it works. I'll find a replacement. If it needs to happen, it will happen. That never crossed my mind during the camp because that's outside forces I can't control. I was focused on what I have to do to be ready to fight on the 10th, whether it was Darren Till or whether it was the champion that stepped in there with me. I was ready for whoever, whenever, on that date.
Nice. Last thing for me is you said biggest name, big opportunity here, a victory. What do you feel like you deserve? Because it feels like it has been a little bit of a slow play despite what you've been accomplishing. So do you feel like this is the moment people recognize you as a legitimate contender and they're talking about you in that way?
I think firstly, this will be the moment where people everybody gets my name right. But this is a big step up. I think this is where I wouldn't have gotten this opportunity if they didn't think I was ready. I know I'm ready, and this is, like you said, this is the one fight, like the previous one, that was a big step up for me. This is the next step. This is the next step towards becoming the champion and fighting the best of the division. Darren Till being one of the best, being absent for a while, not at his best of performance, but it's still Darren Till, and we've seen him show up and being one of the best fighters in the world and showing up and being one of the worst. I prepped for the best Darren Till we've ever seen. I've prepped for a Darren Till that would beat the best Darren Till we've seen before. And this fight will prove that I'm not only ready, but I'm something to be worried about when it comes to the top dogs of the division.
Dricus in front, right here. How do people pronounce your name wrong? What are they saying?
Well, Dricus Du Plessis, Dricus, like people are butchering it, but I have to say, I'm sorry, American media butchers it. Like when I fought in Europe, there was no problem at all. But it's Dricus Du Plessis. That's the name. But it's gotten a whole lot better. It's gotten a whole lot better since the first fight, because that was crazy. But now people are getting it much better. But I believe after this, there will be no mistakes made no more.
In Darren's last fight against Derek Brunson, it came out that he had fought that fight with like a torn ACL or something like that. Is there any fear that he's pushing himself into this camp also with like a serious injury too like that? Because he didn't pull out with that.
Well, that's his problem, to be honest. Whether he has an injury or not, it's going to be the same thing. Like I always say, you can be an asshole, you can be the nicest guy in the world. I'm going to go out there, try to knock you out, try to rip your neck off, try to rip an arm off, try to beat you as hard as I possibly can. It's nothing personal, it's just business out there. So, if he's carrying some injury, I don't know, he's definitely going to be carrying one after the fight.
That's cool. And there's obviously been a bit of a shakeup at the top of your division. You have a new champion. Hamzat might even come up. He's talking about that. Alex Pereira said he'd fight Hamzat at 205 in Brazil. So what do you make of the new champion and all of this new addition at the top?
If Hamzat is such a badass, I'll fight anyone, any time, any weight. Why didn't he just fight the champ at 205? You know what I'm saying? So, that's a big relevance game that he's playing, even though he is a very relevant guy in the UFC at the moment. He's not going to get a title shot. Well, he shouldn't. If that's what the company decides, it is what it is. That's not my concern. I said it. What happens at the top right now, at the titles, that's not my concern. I'll worry about that when I get there. Right now, what I'm concerned about is getting into that conversation. So whether they fight about who gets the bone, I come and I take it anyway, that's all I'm concerned about. So, big shake-up with the champion change. That was one of those fights where I always have a prediction on fights. It's tough, and there's tough fights to call, but with this fight, it was one of those fights where I had pros and cons for both guys, and it was so back and forth. Even me and my friends, me and the team spoke, and it was really one of those special MMA fights where you just had to wait and see what happens. Because it wasn't like, is this going to be a classic striker versus striker that ends up in a grappling and wrestling match? And we almost saw that. But they did such a great job in that fight. Izzy was forced to fight a fight that he hasn't fought in a very, very long time. He was almost laying back just defending his belt for quite a while. And this fight almost had him step out of his comfort zone. He had to step out of his comfort zone because Alex wasn't afraid to go forward and wasn't afraid of his striking. And with Alex, he was forced to wrestle a guy that's not a wrestler or a grappler. And, both of them showed. Alex got that beautiful takedown on Izzy that Robert Whittaker couldn't get on Izzy. That, the top, Yoel Romero couldn't get on Izzy. That some of the best wrestlers we consider the best wrestlers in the division couldn't get it. So, great on him. So you can see how the sports develop. But, great. So we have a change of champions. I think there will be, honestly don't think Pereira will be as dominant as Izzy has been as a champion. I think for him, this was such an important fight for his legacy as a combat sports athlete. And this really has proven him to be really one of the best combat sports athletes to ever do combat sports. So good on him, great on him. But, like I said, to me, it's all about who has the title once I get into the conversation. That wouldn't be too far away, I hope. And after this fight, who I'll call out, I'm not sure. It seems like everybody's booked, right? But yeah, for me, like I said, the politics that's happening at the top right now doesn't concern me. What concerns me is what's happening in the top 10 up until I get to that top discussion. Then I'll start worrying about who's getting unfair advantages and all that kind of stuff.
And finally, I'm sure you saw Dana White's post-fight press conference after Israel's fight. He said that his priority next year is UFC Africa. That is at the top of his list. So what'd you make of when you heard that?
So happy you asked that. He talked about Nigeria. He talked about, was it Uganda? I think Uganda. I have to be honest with you. That makes no. And he did say they haven't done the research enough. They haven't done enough research to say, okay, we're doing it in Nigeria. But even Nigeria, there was a Nigerian reporter that said, sorry, we do not have the infrastructure for this.
Even Israel said it probably wouldn't happen.
It can't happen. If they're going to do it in Africa, there's only one place, and that's South Africa. South Africa is going to be the host of the first UFC Africa event. Write that down, because I know it, I can feel it. And I'm telling you, I mean, we have Cape Town. We've hosted a Rugby World Cup. We've hosted a Soccer World Cup. We have exactly what it takes to host these events, and it's a beautiful country, and I would love for the UFC to come there and be one of the guys that maybe is one of the reasons they do decide to go to South Africa. And Saturday night, I'm going to make them seriously reconsider and make the decision much easier for them to take this to South Africa. And there's no other country in Africa better than South Africa to host this event. They have to, and make sure, like, we have the infrastructure, we have the stadiums, we have the arenas, we have everything we need to host this event.
Right here. You said earlier, Darren, just going back to Darren Till, you said that sometimes he looks like the best fighter on earth, sometimes he looks like the worst. From what you've watched of him, why is that? Is that something his opponents do, you feel like, that throws him off, or is it just something he comes into the cage with and he's either on or he's off?
Yeah, I think he's in his own head. I think Darren Till is, when he started out, he was extremely motivated. I think he was a force at 170. He was a big 170. He was imposing his style on people. Once you get to the big boys in middleweight, it's a complete different story. And obviously, speaking as somebody who fought 170 and then came to 185 myself, that was harder work than actually cutting the weight, because I had to take a very long time. I took almost a year of competing completely to become a 100% 185 fighter. I didn't want to be a welterweight fighting at middleweight. I had to become a middleweight. And that's where I think he messed up. I think he saw the move up to 185 as, I can let it down. I don't have to eat as perfect. Those sessions where I really don't feel like I don't have to do the extra work because my weight's going to be fine. When you're cutting that weight, you almost feel obligated, because if you don't go do this session, you're not going to eat. I think he took the move up as almost an easier route, and that's not the case at all. We hit a little harder, everybody's a little stronger at 185, and I believe that was where the big mistake came. And then, of course, Darren Till losing the big fight against Masvidal, getting back against Gastelum was not an amazing performance, but he got the W, and then getting those losses, definitely the mental aspect, that's where his biggest downfall came, and I don't think he recovered from that. I think that's where he's his own worst enemy.
Dricus over here. To go back to UFC Africa, is it a little frustrating that it has taken them a minute, because as of right now, there's only one African champion. When the year started, there were 3. Is it a little frustrating that it's like, hey, it might have been even bigger, had they done it a little sooner?
No. Next year, we'll have an African champion residing in Africa, so that's going to be amazing.
Thank you.
Hey, Dricus. One of the young athletes to kind of make an impression this year in MMA is Cameron Simon. I was just wondering if you had any insights that you could share with us on him.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised at all. He went out there and he did what he does. mean, the kid's he's amazing. I trained with him. So how our relationship started, he was 13, turning 14. I was 20, turning 21. When we first met, he walked into the gym. We weren't really a commercial gym at all then, CIT. And he wanted to train, and I said, but there was some circumstance. He said, cool, he wants some private lessons, but he wants to train with me specifically. And I said, cool, I'll do an hour twice a week. And it was almost like, after recover, I didn't want to give the session. And after the first day, giving him some instructions, I could see this guy, like, he did what he had to. He went home and he worked on it. Second, and then we started prepping for. I started coaching him. After like 2 months, we started prepping for the national championship, K1 kickboxing national championships. Got second place the year after that. So now he's 15 years old. He got first place, and at 16, you're allowed to legally fight amateur MMA in South Africa. And we started prepping for his first fight. He went 6-0. Then he went over to seniors at 18, became a champ there, and then we moved him up to the pro team, where he trained. Now he's not only, I'm not coaching him, now we are training partners. And he's always been like, this was his dream. He was, that's why I saw him. I saw a lot of myself in him, that nothing else in the world really mattered than becoming a champion in MMA. The same with me. That is my life goal. That is my life's purpose. And the same with him. And now we are friends and training partners. We still have a mentor and student relationship in a way, but not in MMA anymore, more in life, because I'm a little bit older. But now we are more friends than anything else. But this guy is amazing. He's putting in the work. You saw for yourself. The boss man, Dana, saw it. He's an amazing fighter, and I think we're in for a big treat for what his career holds, and I think he's going to do amazing things. I know he's going to do amazing things come Saturday night. I know it.
What do you think's been the biggest development in him since you first came across him at 13, 14 years old? Mentally, I think he was a happy kid, just the same as I was when I started this. Just a happy guy, just want to be there, and then all of a sudden taking this seriously. Realizing it's not only fun and games, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's a lot of sacrifice. And now that he's a little bit older, now he's turning 22 years old, he's even experienced some of these sacrifices, losing people close to you, losing friends, losing your comfort zone, because you're missing stuff because you have to make those sacrifices to be in the UFC. And he got his opportunity, and he made the sacrifices, and that will pay off. That's how it works. You get out what you put in, and he's putting everything in there. Dana White called him the future. Do you kind of agree with that? Like, how high is his ceiling?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guy's he's turning 22 in a couple of days. I mean, he looked incredible. The big lights didn't bother him. He fought like we know he can fight on his first appearance in front of boss man Dana White. For everybody, that's a pinnacle in your career, is getting the shot to fight in front of the biggest promotion, fighting for a contract. He thrived under pressure, and that's a big thing, is being able to have that BMT, that big match temperament, showing up when you have to, and he obviously has that. So, as far as his ceiling is, I mean, being a 2-division champion, maybe even 3, I don't know.
Thanks, Dricus.